Hello and welcome. You're watching Big Picture with me, Vishal Dahiya, and today we're going to talk about the issue of maritime security. In fact, the same issue was taken up at United Nations Security Council on Monday, which was also addressed by Indian Prime Minister. For more on this, we're joined by two distinguished experts. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with, we have with us retired Commander Abhijit Singh. He is head of the Maritime Policy Initiative at ORF. We're also joined by Dr. Sreeram Chaulia, foreign affairs expert, keeps a close watch on the developments on this front as well. Welcome, both of you gentlemen. Let me begin with you, Dr. Chaulia, and let's first start, before we talk about maritime security, let's first start about the fact that Indian Prime Minister was addressing the United Nations Security Council debate out there on this particular issue. Key highlights, obviously, he spoke about all aspects of this particular domain, but the significance of the Indian Prime Minister speaking there as
well. Well, Vishal, it's never been done before. It's historic, and it shows the very high priority Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given to India's role in shaping global issues and challenges, and I think in addressing major issues of common concern to whole humanity. I think he thinks very big. He's always been that way, and I think it's a strategic use of our UNSC presidency that it also highlights how much priority India is giving to its role as a leader, on the world stage, because our permanent representatives and the lower ranked diplomats and bureaucrats are always there, and they always attend the sessions. There's nothing unusual. It doesn't get global attention. But if a head of government or head of state attends, I noticed that President Vladimir Putin of Russia was also listening, and he had also participated. There were a few others, heads of government. So I think it elevates, because when it is our presidency, we want maritime security issue to be highlighted. Nothing better than Prime Minister of the country, the highest of office holder, to be out there representing India and symbolically chairing one session, because that will then create a different level of engagement by all the stakeholders. People take the issue more seriously. Whatever he said and the following the debate, all these will be recorded, and there will be action taken and follow up. So I think Prime Minister took, I think it's a very strategically astute decision, and even the issues he raised, I think he put India first and out there, and showed India as a provider of solutions. He even gave examples. I remember the point he made about how we settled our boundary dispute with Bangladesh. We were actually generous, and we gave more to Bangladesh than we got.
Okay.
And he said the interstate dispute, this is the ideal way of resolving it. Same way he talked about our humanitarian response in the high seas. So he was showing that India is not just doing the talking, or is not just a rotating presidency that we are holding. We actually have a lot of deeds to back up our words. And therefore, when we offer any solution, or we raise the salience of an issue, the world should take notice, because we have credibility to back up whatever we are saying.
Dr. Chaulia, would you agree with Commander Abhijit there when he says that obviously issues related to China in the maritime security domain are important to us, but we are not taking that myopic approach. We are looking at it in a very holistic manner.
Yeah, but at the same time, see, you hear the Prime Minister's opening remarks at the debate. There are clear references, nobody can guess it wrong. It is about China. I mean, there are, I saw the point about, freedom of navigation and how interstate disputes must be resolved peacefully. There's no, everybody knows who's the big, schoolyard bully out here. And
clearly.
In that sense, he was clearly talking about, and the Chinese representative was there listening. So I think it was quite pointed and necessary also, because at the end of the day, we always take the side of the underdogs and of the smaller countries in our region and beyond, across the Indo-Pacific. And the current UNSC members include countries from Africa who are at the western end of the Indian Ocean. Like Kenya, and they're all, been facing, and of course the entire Vietnam is also there right now is another non-permanent member.
Okay.
And the fact is countries like Philippines, Vietnam are, facing tremendous pressure and gunboat diplomacy kind of behavior from China. So I think interstate disputes, that point was very, quite remarkable in the sense like India was advocating and not beating around the bush. The other point was, of course, the responsible maritime connectivity. That point also relates to China. It's basically a critique of the Belt and Road Initiative. Prime Minister said infrastructure should be based on fiscal sustainability of nations. And basically, what he's talking about is the debt trap diplomacy of China, where they say they are building power plants and railways and roads and bridges and ports. But what they do is then they take over strategic real estate, like they've done in Sri Lanka and in Myanmar and elsewhere, and in Pakistan, and then they run it, and then they use it slowly to bring their naval vessels and other commercial fleets and Coast Guard vessels and so on, and then they start swarming the place, and then they try to eject other powers from the region or even control lanes. So I think Prime Minister made a very important point. He said we need global norms and standards on maritime connectivity. What he's saying is that BRI type of hegemonic projects cannot be accepted. So in that sense, you see, where we had to call a spade, he basically did it. And, the message has gone out. We're trying to change the norm and to set new standards. The US is also, the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, was watching. He was also participating. And I think it's well coordinated with them. I can see that because they have this Blue Dot network and other ways of certifying and giving standards to infrastructure projects in the Indo-Pacific, which are free of debt trap and free of, predatory lending. This is what the Chinese are doing to capture strategic real estate in the maritime spaces. So yes, we are not, interested in a war or in any kind of direct confrontation, but we are going to compete with the Chinese. And on that point, I don't think we are shying away from it.
Dr. Chaulia, as Commander Abhijit was pointing that when it comes to the issue of strategic partnership, not only with the global powers, but also with the regional players in our backyard, the strategy which we are adopting, one, do you think it is the right way ahead? And two, what more improvisations are required here?
Well, definitely, we don't have a comprehensive answer or a rebuff to the Belt and Road Initiative. There's no question about it. It's a piecemeal thing still. There is a Quad, plan for joint infrastructure projects in the region. There is also the India-EU, European Union, connectivity partnership we have signed for Indo-Pacific investments. And there is, so I think there used to be, it's still there, Asia-Africa Growth Corridor, that our, initial idea of the Modi government to connect Southeast Asia with South Asia and eastern coast of Africa. They across the IOR region. So those projects are there, but in scale, definitely we have not been able to put as much money on the table as the Chinese do. There's no question about it. But I think we do need to start concrete projects with Quad partners and in these non-traditional domains. I would say 5G networks, and port and Prime Minister also mentioned the hydrographic surveys and other things by which coastal
maritime resources and maritime environment.
Yeah, small island nations look for that, and I think that's one way we can counterbalance. So it has to be not just India alone, right? It has to be India in concert with several others. That's the only way we can match Chinese yuan for yuan or rupee for rupee. So it has to be that kind of thing, and it requires greater coordination because it's a plurilateral initiative we are talking about. It's not one government cannot decide. In Sri Lanka, for example, we have been doing it jointly with Japan. We have been for major infrastructure projects together with Japan. And of course, it's unfortunate that the current regime there has rebuffed us, both Japan and India, and is going for China. But I think if we have 5-6 countries, including EU member countries that are interested, especially France, it's got a big presence here in the Indian Ocean region. Together, I think, we can be bigger bidders and woo some of these countries away from the Chinese sphere of influence.
Okay.
I mean, the thing is, these countries are all pragmatic. While they may want Chinese business and Chinese investments, they're also afraid of this debt trap and of losing their sovereignty and their control over their own real estate and to become basically pawns of a larger Chinese expansion. So I think they are wary of it. They are looking for options. They want alternatives. And I think the sooner we Quad plus, whatever we want to call it, EU plus Quad, the sooner we have a larger formation that picks certain countries. I've been saying, the Philippines needs security support. They're really, really getting under the hammer, even though the government has been, trying to play nice with China. China is not sparing them. They're, nibbling away and shooing them away from their own territorial waters. The Philippines need support. I would say Myanmar right now, especially because of the, return of military rule, is very, very critical. And the US and India are coordinating. Japan, we are all discussing. But I think what we need are some projects on the ground and some coordination, which can then set a counter example to how we can do responsible maritime connectivity. I think that's a big piece of the puzzle. It's not just about sending our frigates or our battleships or submarines. It's also creating this sense of hope and alternatives so that there is more freedom of choice for these smaller countries in the maritime domain.
Thank you so much, Commander Abhijit and Dr. Chaulia, for your views and inputs on this very important issue of enhancing maritime security.